Hey everyone. Um, how do you learn and grow? Like, what methods does God use for you? Or how do you learn to become self aware and identify the log in your own eye versus the speck in your brother's? Um, sorry, I did like a workout yesterday and now my neck is killing me. So pardon me while I work and speak. So, I've learned that for me, God uses the people that are closest to me to show me what I'm doing wrong. For example, like my best friend will not listen or respect my boundaries or the things I ask or the things I tell him. He doesn't believe me when I tell them how dramatic it is or how serious it is. And he makes excuses, logical in his mind. But I've told him over and over and over. And in the past, every time I've brought up an area where he's failing and making it harder for me, God has been like, well, you're failing in that same area too, and you're making it harder for me. And then I'm like, ugh, you're right, Lord. I am doing that same thing just in a different way, and I'm doing it to you instead of to people. But I realize because everyone doesn't have the same kind of relationship with Jesus as I do, most people are just sinning against each other and not realizing they're sinning against God. And so now it's like every time I think about bringing something up and having a conversation with someone about a way that they're consistently failing to love properly, I have to check myself and I ask the Lord, how am I failing to love you in this way? And so learning to do this takes good reflection because you have to actually identify the root cause of what's triggering the behavior. And so I came to realize that my friend isn't respectful of his word. He isn't, and it's so ironic because he considers himself to be a man of his word. But then he makes so many excuses to get out of his word that he's not a man of his word, and I found he's not reliable or trustworthy when it comes to his word, especially if it's anything serious. I'm like, you don't respect me enough to do what you said you were going to do when you said you were going to do it, and or to communicate that something changed so that I'm not sitting here in an anxious mess waiting for the help you promised when I have an issue that's really overwhelming for me that I know is not overwhelming for you, and so it's a lot easier for you to be clear-headed, clear-minded, and help with this. And I was sitting here debating and praying and asking God, because one of the life lessons I've been learning is when to speak up and when to have silence and let God work. I'm not good at this one. And so I was sitting here. Oh, Jennifer, praying for you now, because, like, I'm praying for me on this subject. I told you I'd pray for you when I was experiencing difficulty. So here we go. You're getting extra prayer right now, too. But I was sitting here, and I was just asking the Lord, because I know it would hurt his feelings to get called out like that. And I was like, okay, Lord, before I call out the speck in my brother's eye, how am I doing the same thing to you? How am I not being a man of my word when you've told me what to do and I've told you I'll do it and then I make excuses? I know I've done this a lot in the past with humans. And so I've worked really hard to try to get better in this area. And now that people are doing it to me, I realize that either means A, I did a good job and learned the lesson, or B, I'm doing it to God and he's been trying to get me to do something and I keep making excuses for it. And one of my struggles with this is knowing what God wants. And he wants me to live and to love. And he wants me to take a creative role in my life. Like, there's not always a right or wrong answer. As much as God will present opportunities, and it's whatever one you want him to work out for the best. What lesson do you want to learn? Actions have consequences, and you'll either learn good lessons and improve your life, or you'll learn a negative lesson and end up right back where you started. And then if you learned the lesson, then the next time you'll make a different choice and you'll end up somewhere different. And it's like, where do I want to end up? What do I want to get out of this? And I'm asking that the Lord gives me discernment and understanding and wisdom and clarity so that I know what he wants, and so that when I commit to something, I'm not backing out because I was like, oh, that was wrong. I've made so many mistakes that I think now I can think I made a mistake when I didn't. And then I can go back on my word to the Lord and to myself because I'm having insecurities or anxiety or fear that I'm making a poor choice. And so I think I'm going to wait on talking to my friend, but proceed with the self-awareness and knowledge of how he's behaving, and then just not ask for help. But at the same time, God has placed us together, and so I know that I'm supposed to be teaching by example. So now I have to find a way to teach him responsibility and to honor his word. And I have to teach him this in a graceful, loving, kind way. And I don't know if that's verbally, if it's just through my actions and showing up and doing what I say I'm going to do. And that's where the Lord comes in, is he can help me. And now that I'm aware and I'm watchful of this problem, issue, whatever you want to call it, now the next time it happens, I can take a breath, take a step back, and say, oh, I know this pattern. Do I want to step into this? Or do I want to gracefully step back and not play a role? Because every choice is an action. Even choosing not to move is an action. You're choosing to act in stillness. And stillness and silence can be such a loud teacher. And I'm really having to learn how to teach through methods other than words, because I've found that most people don't believe my words. They don't take me seriously. They don't respect me enough to believe me. It also doesn't help that I'm so high masking that I'll present in a way a lot of times that doesn't match my internal feelings. But that's because I've learned when I speak out of my feelings, when I speak out of my anxiety, when I speak out of my fear, when I speak out of those things, that's not what God wants. But then when I speak calmly, people think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. She can wait. And so it's my job to remain calm, but also persistent, so that people believe me. Just like Jesus, he stands at the door and knocks. And he says, if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, he'll come in and eat with them as friends. It doesn't say he's banging on the door and yelling. He's not trying desperately to get people's attention. He stands there patiently and he knocks and he waits. And if you choose to listen and believe, you get to be friends. And if you choose to believe your own thoughts and your own rationale more than you believe his thoughts and his words and what he's told you, then you'll be just like the situation I'm in, where you're doing to God what my friend's doing to me. And I realize I'm probably doing that because of the situation I'm in. God's probably trying to bring that to my attention so that I can stop hurting his feelings the way my friend is hurting mine. So I pray that you guys have wisdom and discernment. Instead of feeling attacked by people when they do something you don't like, use it as a time to self-reflect and ask the Lord if you're doing that to him in some way and how to change it. I love you guys. Keep learning, keep growing. It's not easy. It's not always fun, but it's always worth it. I love you. He loves you more. She probably even might love you a little bit too, but she's kind of grumpy, so who knows. Have a great day.